So the greatest to ever do it just played last night. The greatest player in history of WNBA, as seen by the fact that, the Dallas Wings win 26% of games and Grace Berger doesn't play. When Grace Berger plays, they win 100% of their games. But anyway, I'm obviously just joking about that. But we are going to talk about something that I'm a little bit like happy to, proven a little bit right based on the game last night. But before we get on to that, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are trying to hit 55.3k. And honestly, we hit that yesterday. We're trying to go back to it. We're trying to gain a subscriber today. If we could gain one subscriber today, that would be greatly appreciated and get back above 55.3k. But anyway, we got to talk about this. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about is I genuinely think that whenever I was really hyped about Grace Berger, it was because I watched her play in Turkey. I rewatched when she was playing with the Indiana Fever. And if you listen to any of my videos, my whole thing was that I thought stylistically she's the perfect bench backup for Caitlin, because what we need from a backup for Caitlin is the ability to play the 2 when Caitlin's off the floor, the ability to play the 1, so the ability to play the 2 with Caitlin, the ability to play the 1 without Caitlin, and the ability to act as a primary ball handler and get the ball back to Caitlin. Like, that's the 3 things they need to do. That's all they need to do. And if you watched how the Wings played last night, when she played, she didn't play that many minutes. However, it's like she made sure the ball got in Paige Bueckers' hands when Paige was on late in the game. Like, she was running the 1, and Wings fans are there talking about it. Like, you're seeing posts like this. If Chris Coughlin is determined to play 2 PG lines, the other PG should take notes from Grace Berger. The ball doesn't stick in her hands, and the manner in which she probes the D encourages her teammates to constantly move, and more importantly, she gets the ball back to Paige. And that's the thing where it's like, if you watch Grace Berger, she's a good mid-range shooter. I think she's just a much better version of a Lucy Olsen. That's basically what she is. But Haley and Grace give the ball back to Paige, and while other teammates decide to shoot and take a layup. Grace Berger's the guard we had and let go for nothing. And before you leave, please give JJ a class on how to play point guard with Paige Bueckers. And playing point guard with Paige Bueckers at the 2 is very similar to playing point guard with Caitlin Clark at the 2. Your job is to steady the ship, get past the halfway line, and get the fucking ball to Caitlin. That is your job when Caitlin's playing off the ball. And you have to be a decent off the ball player. Grace Berger was she shot 40% from 3 as a rookie. Christy Sides didn't play her at all, because Christy Sides preferred Erica Wheeler. But like, she can shoot the ball a little bit. She shot 47% from 3 as a rookie, and last season shot 40%. On her career, she's a 44% 3-point shooter. She's not selfish in any way. 2-to-1, like, she was one of the best young backup point guards in the league. Like, she averaged in 14 minutes a game before Caitlin Clark got there for the Fever. She averaged 4.2 points, 1.6 rebounds, 1.9 assists per game. Like, again, in 14 minutes, it's not that bad. Like, it's not that bad. Like, again, if you're looking at this per 30 minutes a game, you're looking at probably like 8 and maybe like 6, which isn't, again, it's not bad for a backup point guard. Shot 47% from the field and shot 84% from the line. Like, she was a really good player for the Fever. In her rookie season. And like, look, I joke about calling Grace Berger the GOAT because I spent the entire summer looking at players that I thought stylistically would be a good fit beside Caitlin Clark. And from watching her play in Turkey, I was looking and I'm like, the Indiana Fever already have stylistically the perfect backup point guard for Caitlin Clark. Like, Grace Berger, as much as I joke, as much as it's a running gag that Grace Berger is the GOAT. Let's be real. Grace Berger is a fringe WNBA player depending on the system. But the difference is that so is Sid Colson. Ari McDonald got cut as well. So like, Ari McDonald is a fringe WNBA player. Like, people don't understand that as well. But like, Ari McDonald is a selective passer. She apparently just won't pass the ball to Caitlin Clark. Like, we were all so excited for Caitlin's ability to play off the ball because of how good Ari's been. I mean, I'm sorry, like, Ari McDonald, hardship Ari was a different animal to what we have right now. And stylistically, Grace Berger was just such a good fit. And that was the first reason why I'm like, I don't understand this front office. I'm like, I actually don't understand this front office. And by the way, I don't understand what the Minnesota Lynx were doing keeping Elisa Pili over Grace Berger either. Even in preseason, Grace was much, much better. She was much better than Pili in preseason. Like, I don't understand that. And, like, look, Grace Berger is a fringe WNBA player. Let's be honest. She'll be in the WNBA next year, mainly because of the expansions. She's in the best 160 or whatever it is players in the world. She's not that young. It's not like she's going to be there growing long term, but like she was on her third year of a rookie deal. They didn't have to pick up the fourth year option. They wouldn't have had to pick up the fourth year option on her. I don't think the Fever would have picked up the fourth year option on her. They would have tried to get her for a minimum again, a little bit like the Mystics with Angsler. But like the Fever have just let so many players that stylistically would be perfect for the Fever with Caitlin Clark over the last 3 years walk. And I'm not saying they've let superstars walk. Like, for example, Emily Angsler. Like, I don't think Emily Angsler is a superstar by any means. But if you watched, especially last year's Mystics, this year's Mystics, she's kind of caught in the crossfire of, like, Emily Angsler is like a stretch four who's strong, is tough, can play a lot of roles. She's just caught in that crossfire of being the fourth best player at her position when her position's stacked. Like, realistically, Shakira Austin, Emily Angsler, Kiki Iriafen, Aaliyah Edwards, and Sika Kone all play the same position. They all are power forwards. They're all fours. In the WNBA, they're all fours. And they all play the same position. And obviously, Angsler is the one that's caught out. The one that's left out. But I think Angsler is really good. There was no reason to cut Emily Angsler if you're the Fever. Stylistically, Emily Angsler would be a much better backup power forward than anything the Indiana Fever have. Than anything the Fever have. Like, Michaela Timpson needs to learn how to shoot or she's a center. The problem is we don't have a shooting center. Oh, wait. The team got rid of Alana Smith a couple of years ago, who, again, is the perfect power forward center to play beside Leah Boston because you get rid of the size and speed problem because she's athletic enough to play the four. And it allows Aaliyah to offensively play the four, and it allows Aaliyah to defensively at times maybe play the five. And it means that Aaliyah doesn't get caught speed-wise. And look, Aaliyah's getting much faster, but you can't play Aaliyah Boston with a player who's slower than Aaliyah Boston. Like, it doesn't work. Like, the Leah Boston Dantas minutes, depending on your opposition, unless you're playing the Atlanta Dream or the LA Sparks, is a lineup that doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. So, I think in general, it's a real tough one when we look at the Indiana Fever. And I'm not saying that they've gotten rid of any huge names or they've gotten rid of any spectacular players. But at the end of the day, you've got three quote-unquote stars. You've got three elite players. And what you have to do with those three players is build around those three players. You've got to. There's no excuses. You have got to build around those three players. You have got to figure out how we can build around Kelsey, Aaliyah, and Caitlin. And look, two of those three are absolutely untouchable in Caitlin and Aaliyah. And you've got to find a way to build around Caitlin and Aaliyah. Look, if I'm there in the offseason, I'm looking to bring back Jackie Young, who's a much better fit for that team than Kelsey Mitchell. She's not what Kelsey Mitchell is on offense, but she's so good on defense that it makes up for it. She's like 95% of the offensive player, Kelsey Mitchell, but she's way better on defense, and the team will fit better. And then you got to look on the wings. You got to start looking on the wings to get a small forward that is just a better version of a Sophie Cunningham. Like, you got to look for try to bring a Bridget Carlton in. You got to look to bring in, you're not going to get Leo Phoebish. Let's be real, you're not going to get her. She's the perfect one. You maybe, if you go and tank the season, or maybe try to trade up in the draft and get yourself Easy Foot. You got to go look overseas to see what players are killing it. What players maybe that haven't come over. There's a lot of 6'3", 6'4" snipers. Like, there are players that you just never know. You might have to offer them a lot of money. You might have to give them a lot of real incentive to come over and just be a defensive shooter. Just be a shooter out there. And those players exist. They genuinely exist. But you've got to look overseas and be creative. Then at the power forward position, you got to go one of two ways. You either got to go freak athlete, high motor, or spacer. Alana Smith's probably not going to be available. She's probably the only real spacer. You try to figure out a way of getting Louisa Geisel-Soder from Dallas to play beside Aaliyah. Something like that is a young core that you progress with. You don't go for old players. If not, you just pray that Michaela Timpson improves enough at Prague playing in EuroLeague that she becomes a starting player next year. And then off the bench, you try to find fits. And if it means bringing over to play backup point guard a Mariana Ortiz, who can kind of run the show, who can absolutely run the show without Caitlin Clark, then so be it. So be it. if it means going to if it means going overseas and trying to find one of those players, if it means bringing back a Grace Berger, just because even though Grace is not that great a player, as a stylistic fit, if it's a stylistic fit, if it means going, like, if you're looking for players that are playing specific positions and can fit a system, if you want to go that route, then you go if you want to play a motion offense, you bring in players that know how to play a motion offense, aren't just learning the motion offense. If you want to run this offense with Caitlin Clark, who's not that comfortable in it, you got to get players that are comfortable in it to run it without Caitlin Clark. You get like an Antonio Dallaire from Germany, or say from Belgium. You find these type of players. You start to look. You look at the Australian national team, and what's her name? But you start to look at these international teams. You start to look at where players are doing well. You look in the French league. Because at the end of the day, there are players that maybe don't have the name of Natasha Howard, that don't have the name of Duana Bonner, that don't have the name of Sydney Colson, but were better fits. And this is just an example of, you literally had one of them. You had a perfect fit beside Caitlin Clark to play 12 minutes a game as your backup point guard. And yes, right now, would Grace Berger probably be stinking it up in the Fever? Probably. But stylistically, when Caitlin Clark's on the floor, she would allow you to play Caitlin off the ball. She would be able to play off the ball and on the ball. And you can run a 2-point guard lineup where for an occasional possession, Grace is playing the 1 with Caitlin at the 2. She's not a starter. She's not going to be anything great, but she would have been a net positive for this team. But the problem is that Stephanie White brought in players for her system. She brought in players for her system. She did not sign players. She did not She did not bring in players that were going to fit what the Indiana Fever were doing last year. She did not bring in players that were going to fit what we had hoped for the Indiana Fever. She brought in players that would have fit on last year's Connecticut Sun team, and she didn't fit on that team. And just watching her play last night, and by the way, she had 0 points. But just seeing the fact that it was, you know what, she's driving, she's kicking, she's getting the ball into the players' hands that you want the ball in their hands, and we know she's a capable mid-range shooter in the mold of a Lucy Olsen. And again, saying that she's Lucy Olsen isn't like saying she's a superstar. She's a better version of Lucy Olsen. And I mean this when I say this, man. I fucking take Lucy Olsen right now, let alone a literal better version of her that was on the fucking team.